what's up guys, and welcome back to MOV.E. I hope you've had an awesome day. What we're looking at for our workout today is 4 sections. The first part is going to be the warm-up, so that's just getting the body prepped for the hard stuff. We have the build section after that, which is going to be looking at a bit of direct arm work and some abs as well. We've got the move section after that, which is going to be an ascending ladder for 8 minutes. And then we have a finisher as well, which is again going to be a little bit sort of arm, shoulder kind of based work there. So pretty upper body heavy today. Looking at that warm-up, what we're going to start off with is 2 minutes of cardio of your choice. So you can be a little bit creative here, do what you want to with that one. What we're going to do is alternate between 10 plate grounder overhead. So Em's going to demo that for us, going from ground up to a lockout overhead. We'll do 10 of those, and then we're going to go into 5 up downs. So jumping the legs out, jumping in, and standing nice and tall. And we're just going to go back and forth between those two things for 2 minutes. Now, once we clear that, the next 3 minutes, what we're going to do each minute on the minute is starting off with 5 sit-ups. So I'm going to grab her ab mat and set up on the ground there. So with this one, we are tagging the ground behind our head and then coming up and tagging the toes. So 5 of those, that'll come up into 10 jump squats. Yeah, I'm just going to pop up to that one. Okay, and then from the 10 jump squats, we go to 30 mountain climbers. So down in a push-up position, and we are running those legs back and forth for 30 reps. So that sequence you have to fit in each minute on the minute for 3 minutes. Now, if you happen to get timed out by that minute marker, guys, just start again at the sit-ups again. Don't worry about the rest of the reps. Make sure you stay on that minute pattern. You good to go, Emma? All right. So starting in 10, we have our 2 minutes of cardio up first. We're going to be going 10 plate ground overhead, 5 up downs on repeat. Starting in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now the first thing to notice with this, guys, is we have deliberately gone a very, very light plate. I'm sure Emma could do this with a 35 or a 45 pound plate if she really wanted to, but because we're going for warm up, because we're just going for nice, easy movement, getting the body loosened up, we're gonna go for a 10 pound plate, and that way it's more just about the body movement rather than the actual resistance itself. The plate is just more something there to hang on to. So once we've done 10, we're gonna go to 5 up downs. So looking for a tall stand up at the top of the movement and then a nice long body position at the bottom there. So looking at a good push up position in the bottom. And we're just going to go back and forth between the two of those for the next 2 minutes. So in the bottom of this, the most important part as far as safety goes is keeping the back nice and straight. You can see Em's got a nice hinge pattern at the hips. So she's not rounding off, getting into a bad position coming down. She's making a point of like stretching the hamstrings. A little bit of softness in the knees is good. And we're getting that plate to kind of turn to be in a nice kind of vertical position at the bottom there as it touches the ground. Nice work, Em, that's good. So 50 more seconds. So back to the 5 up downs. Now the main sort of driver, or the main thing that's going to be working hard with this one is going to be your midline. So when the feet jump out, we're kind of hitting the brakes and almost kind of bouncing back up. We've got to stay tight through the abs so that we don't buckle and sag those hips down. 30 more seconds. Now we're looking for, in the top there, reaching right up to the roof, so that head's going to kind of pop through, stretch those arms up to full lockout. And then returning down, you'll notice that plate stays fairly close to her body the entire time. 10 more seconds. So I reckon we'll get ourselves ready for this next piece. We're going to get the ab mat out and we'll get that ready. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So 5 sit-ups up first. Now, if you don't happen to have an ab mat at home, guys, don't stress too much. It's just there for a little bit of added support. If you want to kind of mimic it, you could maybe go a towel or a hoodie rolled up underneath your low back. So 10 jump squats now. So making sure that in the bottom of the squat, we've still got good posture, knees are open, heels are down, and there's just a little jump at the top there. Once we clear this, we're going to go to 30 mountain climbers. Okay, so she's got that nice push-up position, active shoulders, and the legs are running back and forth. So this is a fairly quick turnover, this movement. So she should be able to knock the 30 out fairly quick. Okay, and we're resting now up until the minute marker. And we'll go back into the sit-ups. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back on the sit-ups again. So as I mentioned earlier, guys, we are tagging the ground above the head, tagging the toes, and that's just to ensure we always are hitting the exact same standard of movement rather than that movement getting shortened if we're getting a little bit fatigued, trying to go a little too fast. All right, jump squats. So things to watch out for with these jump squats, guys, is we don't want those knees to collapse in. That's a fairly common mistake if we're getting a little bit tired, losing concentration, and he's got the knees driven out nicely with that. So 30 mountain climbers again. You can see Em's body staying fairly still in the one spot there. She's not kind of bobbling or jumping up and down. Okay, 10 seconds and we'll hit that last round. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So we can see in the bottom of that sit-up, she's allowing herself to kind of arch over the pad and get that good stretch through the abs. She's not staying overly tucked there. All right, jump squatting. Nice. All right, and then into the last set of 30 on the mountain climbers. So the knee's going to come up to probably about sort of stomach to chest height, somewhere in there, and make sure the leg's fully extended out the back. So you've got to watch those hips don't jackknife up if you're getting a little bit tired. So 15 more seconds if you're still going on the clock there, guys. Take your time finishing off that last one. Remember, this is the warm-up, so we just want to make sure you're giving yourself that nice, easy speed to get things started. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, so that is the warm-up, guys. Have a bit of a chill for a minute, get some water, and we're gonna have a look at the build section next. Alrighty, guys, so now that we're nice and warmed up, we're gonna check out the build section of the workout. So how this one is gonna run is we have 3 sets running on a 9-minute clock. We're gonna start off with 10 slow hammer curls. So with your dumbbells, we are curling up to just sort of around chest height is good. You don't need to go right up over the shoulders, and then straightening those arms again. 10 slow reps on that goes into 10 slow presses. So from shoulders up to lockout. Okay, and then from there, third minute we're gonna do is 1 minute of hollow rocks. So we're gonna set ourselves up on the ground, arms and legs nice and long, and we're going back and forth in that hollow position. Okay, so if you try to work it so that we can get the work done in, say, maybe about 2 or so minutes, that'll lay about a minute's break after it, and that way we stay on that nice sort of 3-minute cycle. That'll fit into the 9-minute time cap. Good to go? Yep. All right. Starting in 10, so hammer curls are up first. Remember, these are deliberately slow, so think sort of 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down, and go for it. So good to notice about these guys, they are a hammer curl, not just a regular bicep curl, so that does refer to the grip position. So as you move through this, your palms should face inwards or face each other the entire time. There's no turn up at the top there. So we're just staying in that nice neutral position. We want to imagine that your upper arm is like super glued to your rib cage. So the only thing that can move is actually from the elbow down. We don't want to have the elbows actually come away from the body and end up with those dumbbells too high, because that'll end up that the bicep will kind of tension off, whereas if we keep it a little bit lower, it's got to work the entire time. So once we get to 10, we're going to move into the strict press. Okay, so from there, important to remember with this one, guys, we've still got that slow tempo, but also it is a strict press, which means there's no leg involvement. The legs are going to flex, but they're going to be in a nice static position. We're not going to be dipping and driving or doing any kind of jerking motion. It's purely on the arms and shoulders to get the work done. Now, what Em's doing a really good job of here is she's staying strong through her core and her legs. She's supporting that pressing motion by the lower body staying really locked in. She's not relaxing through there. All right, so we're going to move to our minute on the hollow rock. So we'll say it's from 120 through to 220. So looking at ideally straight arms and straight legs, this is going to be kind of unique to your own fitness level. You can play around with a short tuck hollow as well, so bending the legs, bringing the arms forward if you need to, and it's just about filling up that minute with as much as you can. So you may possibly take some strategic breaks in there, or you might regress to an easier version to keep it going, but just trying to fill up that minute as much as you can. Nice work, and that's looking good. Okay, just a quick little breather. We've got about 20 more seconds. So notice the nice kind of flexed legs here. If you are doing that full position with the hollow, we want to keep the knees locked out, toes pointed, squeeze together at the ankles. 5 more seconds. And resting. All right, so that's one cycle down. So we'll take about a 40 or so second break now before we hit the next one. We'll go at the 3-minute marker. We've got 2 more rounds to get through. All right, getting ready to go in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So another thing we'll watch out for with these curls, guys, is obviously with the arms trying to pull the weight up, the tendency is when we get tired that the shoulder is actually going to want to kind of pull forward. So we want to make sure you're keeping strong through that upper back. You can see Em's got the shoulders kind of pinned back, nice high chest, and that's going to keep those shoulders looking really in a nice strong position. There's no momentum here. She's not swinging or like muscle cleaning the dumbbells up. It's purely on those biceps to get that work done. Now for the pressing movement, you'll notice she's in a nice neutral position. So it's almost the same kind of hand position as the hammer curls. So palms face in the whole time. Sometimes we'll see people take the hands out wide and press from there. This is just a much safer, stronger position to operate from. So try to work into that. Getting that head through at the top is really important just to establish that lockout. All right, so we'll go from the 4 through to the 5. Okay, so this is the short tuck version, guys. This is a good one if you're needing to sort of scale it back a little bit or if you're trying to stretch to get the entire minute out unbroken. It's got the same idea of the legs being pinned together, feet pinned together, toes pointed. Arms are still straight, so we've got a lot of the same body language there. It's just an easier access movement. One of the things that will be common from the full hollow to this short tuck one is that the shoulders still stay off the ground. Okay, 30 more seconds. Doing well. It's a bit of a burner, this one. So right now, Em's just kind of rocking from the top of her butt to the bottom of her rib cage and sort of just below her shoulder blades. 10 more seconds. And resting. All right, so we've got a little bit longer rest this time. We got that round done a little bit quicker, so we'll rest through to the 6, and then we'll hit that 3rd and final round. Okay, 15 seconds and we'll get this last one underway. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So 3rd and final round, we're gonna keep in mind that tempo on this. So I'm gonna do sort of a silent count of 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down, even put in pauses if you want to. That's up to you as to how hard you wanna make this, what kind of weights you have access to at home. If you happen to be operating at home with just a single kettlebell, you could just grab onto the horns of that, so either side of the handle, and work the same movement. It's going to be a little bit narrower, but it's essentially the exact same thing. When we move into the presses, again, if you've got a single object, you can do single-sided and alternate if you want to, or do 10 on one side, 10 on the other. If it's a heavy weight, you could maybe go 5 and 5, as long as we're getting that same kind of work done. So Em's real strong through that lower body there. We can see the hips are just staying right in their spot. They're not getting kind of pushed forward. She's not leaning back out of it. So obviously the hollows haven't affected her too badly, which is good. So she's managing to get through this. All right, coming down. So we'll go from quarter past to quarter past and go for it. So by now, these hollow rocks are going to be getting pretty tough, so you will find you'll probably need to break them up a little bit, and that's totally fine. Just try to minimize how much rest there is. If you do have to take a breather, just count back from 5, jump back in again, try to fill up that minute as much as you can. Doing good, Emma. It's all right. So halfway through this one. Okay, 15 seconds. So we can see that no matter how tired she's getting, when she's on, she's keeping those shoulders peeled up off the ground. She's not letting herself get flat and clunky on the floor. And resting. All right, so for those of you who are still going, guys, we've still got about 40 seconds left on the clock there. So if you're still on your hollows, keep working with it. And then once this is done, we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, last 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, that was the build section finished. Have a little bit of a break, get some recovery time in, and then we're gonna check out the move section next. Alrighty, so guys, we're gonna check out the move section now. So how this one is gonna run is we have an 8-minute AMRAP, and it's an ascending ladder of reps. So we'll be going 2 reps, then 4, then 6, then 8, and continually adding 2 each round as far as we can take it in those 8 minutes. The 2 movements we're gonna bounce back and forth between is a dumbbell box step up. So setting up dumbbells in a suitcase style and just stepping up and down off our box or step or whatever you're using at home. That's then gonna then go into the sit-ups. So setting up on the ground and moving from that layback position to a full seated position, tagging the ground, tagging the toes. So you go back and forth between the 2 of them, climb that ladder as we go, and it's an 8-minute time cap. Good to go? All right, starting in 10. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Good, and taking it down to sit-ups. So the first few rounds of this are going to go by pretty quickly. Obviously, we're kind of moving back and forth fairly fast in those smaller numbers, and it will start to get slower and slower as the numbers get bigger, especially when we get into double digits. How you go about with the step-ups as far as like right and left and that sort of thing, you can alternate each time, you can alternate each set. It's really up to you, provided that you do even out the legs to some degree. If you've got a favored leg that you like to step up on, you do still need to work with that non-favored side, otherwise we're going to end up building imbalances which we don't want. So just make sure in some way you balance those legs out. All right, so come back again. Now, one of the things you want to think about when considering the height of the box that you're stepping up on, if you have the option to make it higher or lower, is making sure it's not excessively high to the point where my knee is miles above my hip. I don't want to feel like I'm climbing a fence just to get up on there. You want to feel like your upper leg is either flat across or slightly pointing down, and that's going to give us an optimal position to operate from. Now, I mentioned earlier with the sit-ups, if you don't have an ab mat, guys, don't stress. You can just do this on flat ground. It just gives you that extra bit of support to kind of arch over the top. Gives us a little bit more stretch as we go through it. But you can roll up a towel and put that in the low back if you want to. And one of the things you'll notice Em's doing is as she moves onto the box, she's getting her entire foot on there. It's going to help with the balance aspect of this. She's not going to feel kind of rickety and like she's going to fall off the back of it. Also allows her to really drive that hamstring glute kind of tie in and get that good strength in that rear chain. One of the things you might consider doing, guys, if you're doing this on, say, floorboards, tiles, concrete, definitely get a yoga mat or something underneath your tailbone, because obviously this is going to be 8 minutes of rocking back and forth on your butt there, so you want to make sure you're not on a rough surface, otherwise that can be pretty uncomfortable. Now when you get fatigued with this step up, guys, what you'll find is your arms are going to start to want to kind of dangle around, and especially if you've got some weight on there, they're going to want to start to rock forward. It's your job to really keep them close to your hips as if they're attached to your pockets. And that way that weight's going to stay nice and central. It's not going to be yanking that body into a bad kind of bent over position. All right, come back down again. Nice work, and that's good. All right, which one are we up to now? 12s? Nice. So this is where you're going to start to notice the swapping back and forth start to slow down a little bit. Obviously, we're getting into those bigger numbers now. But we do want to have that nice, consistent, steady pace. Again, if you have your option with the height and with the dumbbell weights and everything, how Em is doing this is ideally what we want it to look like, where it's just non-stop the whole way through. We don't want extremely heavy weights to the point where you're only doing 1 or 2 at a time. You should be able to kind of move through this non-stop. All right, back down to sit-ups. So notice there, Em's just sort of checking that that ab mat is going to sit into her lower back. So she just adjusted where it was. We don't want to have it so far back that it's ending up under our thoracic, so like our upper back. It's not padding for a rest there, it's for support. So we want to make sure it's in that low back. We also want to make sure it's not under our butt. So it's not padding for your backside there, it is for that support. So if you do feel like you need some padding underneath your butt there, as I said, get a towel doubled up, or a yoga mat, something soft that you can sit on, and then have that cushioning as the support under the low back. So past halfway. So one of the things Em's gonna fight against as we get deeper and deeper into this fatigue and towards the tail end of the workout, she's keeping that posture up. It's gonna want to fold forward. She's gonna want to drop the head in the chest, but she's going to work against that, keep the shoulders back, keep that body nice and upright. There'll generally be a little bit of forward lean from the hip itself, but we don't want to see the spine actually round over with this. Nice, Emma, looking good. So closing in the last couple of minutes. Okay, so 2 minutes left. Another thing to check in when you're getting fatigued, guys, is how your knees are tracking with your feet. So without changing your posture too much, if you have a little bit of a look down as you're going through this, you can watch that your knee and your foot are going to point nice and lined up. So what we don't want is the toe kind of fanning out and the knee collapsing inwards of that. You should see both things pointing forwards. That's just going to keep that hinge joint running on a nice straight line. Oh, one more. There we go. Okay, about to roll on the last minute, so we'll get through these last couple of long sets. Okay, 45 seconds left. Okay, back to step ups one last time. Okay, last 30 seconds. So Em's got a nice solid pace here. She's not letting the clock pressure into starting to sprint the end and letting the form get all crazy. She's just keeping that nice consistency all the way through. Three, two, one, and done. All right, guys, that is the move section done. If you want to have a couple of minutes break, get some water in, we're going to check out this finisher in a moment. All right, guys, we're almost at the end of the line here. We're going to get through one last piece, which is the finisher. So how this one is going to run, we've got a 5-minute AMRAP. It's 2 movements, 15 reps a piece. The first one is going to be a single dumbbell front raise. Okay, so it's going from legs up to shoulder height with straight arms. The second movement is going to be a single dumbbell bent over row, so coming down past the knees, drawing into the body, and we're just going to go back and forth between the two of those. So, good to go? All right, starting in 10. So you guys can put rests in where you need to with this, but try to fill up that 5 minutes as much as you can. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this front raise, guys, you'll notice the rest of Em's body is going to stay completely still. It's just the shoulders and the arms that are moving, and the arms are going to have the tiniest little bit of bend at the elbow. So it's not a full lockout, it's just slightly soft. That way we're kind of resting on the musculature rather than the joint copping the brunt of that. So 15 reps. I would suggest when you're picking the loading for this, try to go for something that you can at least start off as unbroken sets. We don't want anything excessively heavy. Okay, with the row, we're going to be below knee height at the bottom, so we get in a nice deep position, and then we're bringing the dumbbell somewhere on that low torso. So I always like to target like belly button, but anywhere kind of rib cage down to hips, somewhere through there. Try to actually touch it to the body, and that way we know we're hitting that nice standard of movement each time. Now the tendency with this movement when you get fatigued and when we get towards the tail end of this 5 minutes is that your body's going to start to lean almost like a kettlebell swing. Okay, we're going to try and fight against that, so a lot of strength through sort of around the hips, around the midsection to control that body position. And it's just making that front portion of the shoulders do a lot of work here. Now, if you don't happen to have a dumbbell, guys, maybe you're working with a kettlebell or a loaded backpack or something like that, you can do these same movements. That same front raise is going to work the same. With the bent over row, you might end up going into single-sided. So you might do one round on the right, and then the next time around, do the next round on the left. Or if you're able to go to like that closer grip with the kettlebell or the backpack, do the same motion. That's cool. And just kind of adapt yourself to the equipment that you have. Doing good, and about to roll over halfway. So the big piece with the technique on this bent over rows, guys, you can see Em's shoulders really drawing back together. She's got a nice big movement through there, so those shoulder blades are kind of fanning forward on the reach and then retracting and pulling back as she draws it to her body. And while she's doing that, she's maintaining a really nice straight back position, so very similar to like when we're deadlifting. All right. Doing good, Em. Em's keeping a straight face, but right now her shoulders are about to burst into flames, so she's doing well. Okay, 2 minutes in closing. All right, back into that row. So if you do ever find yourself, guys, especially in this bent over row, your body's starting to change shape, like you're rounding over, losing that low back, losing that core, just stand up again, straighten yourself out, take a moment, and then re-engage back into a better position. It's not worth trying to push the rest of the set out if we're not in that nice neutral spine position at the top there. Doing good. Okay, coming in the last minute now. So it helps to have a little bit of bend in the knees like Em's got there. She's kind of got them off of locked, so similar to what we talked about with the arm position. It's just allowing a little bit more mobility to get in that bent over position there. We'd make sure those knees aren't completely locked out. This front raise, we want to think about tagging the legs and then getting up to shoulder height at the top. Last 20 seconds, Em, you got it. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, nice work, Em. So that is the finisher done, guys. We're going to check out the cool down in a moment. Alrighty, guys, so now that all the hard work's done, we're going to cool things down with a little bit of stretching. So 2 drills we're going to do. The first one we're going to do is a seated shoulder stretch. So setting up like Em is here, legs are out in front, hands are behind you. Now, depending on your shoulder flexibility, that'll depend on how close you can get the hands, how far you can turn the hands around. You can play around with that how you will. We're going to go for 1 minute on the clock. So you can jump into that when you're ready, Em. We'll go kind of as close as you can without feeling like agonizing through your shoulders. And then we're just basically lifting the chest up nice and high, getting those shoulder blades to pull back together. Now, what we'll see over time, so not necessarily right now, but over time, Em's hands are going to end up further back, and she's also going to turn those fingers to points behind her. That's all going to be relative to how tight her shoulders are after the workout and just her mobility in general, but we're going to hang out there for the minute. Always good to try and think about taking nice big breaths in as well, especially because this stretch is going to really open that rib cage, extend that stretch out through the shoulders. The ultimate goal with this one is to be able to actually get your pinkies to touch behind your back and then be able to slide your butt forward. So that's sort of the down the track goal if you can work towards that. 15 more seconds. Three, 2, 1. All right, so that's drill 1. The second drill we're going to do is a lying glute stretch. So Em's going to have a lay back, and I'm going to hook one leg up on top of the other one and basically reach through and grab that right leg. Okay, so this one we're going to go 45 seconds on each side. Okay, so this one's going to be getting into the glute and the hip. You'll probably even get a little bit of low back as well, especially if you're quite tight. But we're just trying to get that knee kind of turned out. She can also use her left hand to kind of press down on that left knee a little bit if she wants to. Okay, and that will just exaggerate that stretch even further, but just allowing the head and the shoulders to drift back to the ground, kind of pull back on that stretch. And we're just going to hang out here. Ten more seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and switching sides. So with this stretch, guys, if you are particularly wrecked after a workout and your hands are all sweaty and your grip's gone completely out the window, you can actually set this up with a wall, or if you have a training partner, you can actually rest that leg against the wall or your partner, and that way you don't have to hang on to it. And that way you can just kind of sink into that stretch. And this is gonna be a really good one if you've done a lot of like lunging, squatting, deadlifting, anything where we're sort of hip extending, and those glutes are on deck to do a lot of the work. This is gonna be good to open that up a bit. So 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, so guys, those are your 2 drills. If you get a chance to, you got the time to, go through that a couple more times, really loosen the body up. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. That's been your MOV+ class.